Send in the red shirts.
Hey everyone, I'm back. Just like the rest of the country, I'm stuck at home in bad need of a haircut, and I'm in bad need of entertainment. And I thought I was going to get that watching the finale of Picard last night. Yes, it aired last night, our 10th episode. We know it was renewed for a second season even before the first season began airing. So I was really excited to see this series. I was looking forward to seeing Jean-Luc Picard back in action, and we saw the finale last night. And wow, I gotta say, somehow they managed to take an iconic Star Trek character, my favorite captain, and reduce him to gobbledygook. I really think these Kurtzman writers are trolling us at this point because I know, at least in the finale, the second part of the finale, they gave me the perfect way to kind of sum up this series.
I gotta.
What's happening?
Nothing that makes any sense.
Let me start off by saying that I recently purchased the Blu-ray box set of the entire TNG series. And by the way, shout out to my friends over at Midnight's Edge, Thomas Connor, Robot Shlomo, aka Rob Gallo, and Random Mecca. Hope I have her name right. She's a pretty well-known YouTuber. I did a show with them some time ago, and they actually managed to get, I can never get his name, Robert Burnett, I think that's his name, who did some of the work on the TNG Blu-ray, some of the behind-the-scenes work. And based on some of the things that he said were included on that Blu-ray set, I bought it just on that alone, on his recommendation. Just last night, I watched after watching the Picard finale, I then turned on TNG and watched Sarek, because I'm watching all those episodes in order. I've seen them, a lot of them not thousands, but many times. Like I have a batch of 20 that I would consider TNG episodes that I rewatch. Sarek is not one of them, but it is a fantastic episode for the acting alone. And I can just say this, in that 1 hour of Star Trek TNG, I felt more for all the characters, all the main characters in that 1 hour than I did for any of the characters, including Jean-Luc, in the whole 10-episode series of Star Trek Picard. There's nothing really human. There's no real humanistic element in this series. It's a lot of the same complaints that I had about Star Trek Discovery Season 2 kind of overlap with my complaints with this series. There's nothing really emotional about it. It's more about plot than emotion. They attempt to gin up some emotion, particularly in this finale, which they fail at miserably. I just between no humanism in the series and the most convoluted, inconsequential plot that I've come across since Discovery Season 2, I just didn't care. I started watching it to see glimpses of Patrick Stewart's brilliance. And let me talk about him for a little bit. As I mentioned before, I watched Sarek after watching the finale. And that was a much needed antidote to the finale. The scenes between Mark Leonard and Patrick Stewart are a masterclass in acting. Those scenes are riveting, and it's just two people talking. There's no sci-fi, there's no phasers, there's no photon torpedoes, just two people talking, and they are riveting. Then when you get to the scene where Patrick Stewart has to absorb all of Sarek's emotions when he's sitting there with Beverly Crusher, it's amazing. There's a behind-the-scenes additional features of that particular episode, and he said that he had to reenact that particular scene from beginning to end each time because the camera makes one long uncut move around his face. I mean, that is unbelievable. Now, Do I get that Patrick Stewart in Picard? Unfortunately, I don't. And I don't mean to sound a certain way. I don't mean to be ageist, but he has aged significantly. And you hear it in his voice, in his gait, in his delivery, that he is not the Patrick Stewart that I remember from TNG. Now I know he's grown older, but that doesn't mean I have to like that he is leading this series. I just don't think it serves him well at this point. And it really suffered, at least in my opinion, his performance suffers simply because he's incapable of that dynamism that he had as a young Jean-Luc Picard. Having said that, without question, he and Jerry Ryan, who is still amazingly beautiful and proves herself a more than extra capable actress now that she is not confined by the lack of emotions from of Seven of Nine. Now she's a fully realized emotional human being, and she steals every scene she's in. But beyond that, what makes this series so unsatisfactory is that it's one of those things. It's just like with season 2 of Discovery. Things just seem to happen just so they happen. There's no real motivation or no real reason for things happening. Characters behave one way in 1 minute, and then they behave another way 10 minutes later or an episode later. You have doctors who kill innocent people and then get off with no consequences for such actions. You have alliances that are created throughout the majority of the series. Then when we get to the finale, those alliances are torn down suddenly through other alliances. And then at the last minute, at the 11th hour, minds are changed and they're back on the good side again. They're back on the good team again. I'm thinking of Soji, who seems to go through that charade very quickly in this finale. Just for the hell of it, they've got a planet that's full of, as Captain Rios calls them, ship-killing flowers, orchids. They just, hey, wow, that's cool. Let's just put it into the script because it helps us out later on in a large battle. They throw in a device at the 9th hour, some device that you can imagine things or you imagine what you want to accomplish, and it does it. It creates that what you want to do. And so that's just another plot device that they can use because, I don't know, they think it's cool and they throw it in for good measure. You've got story arcs that just don't seem to matter, that just don't seem to make any sense. Maybe I missed something because they throw so much into this melange. What was the point of the whole Borg cube and all the stuff with the one woman who was seeking out Borg parts and ripping out, was it Hugh? No, it was Icheb. Ripping out Icheb's eye. I like how they kind of did a callback to that when, what's her name? One of the women, it was so hard to determine. One of the women gets stabbed in the eye on the same side as the eye that gets ripped out of Icheb's head. I mean, I consider myself something of a writer. I mean, I've written scripts before, and it was always my understanding that you only want to put scenes into your script that drive the plot forward. Even the scenes that are quiet, the scenes that are slow, the scenes that build character, they have, building character drives the plot forward too. It's not a good thing when you have to think back as to, well, why did they take us to the Borg ship? Why did we see all that stuff? What was the point of the collecting Borg parts? What was the point of Rafi going to see her son and being rejected and we never hear from the son again? Stuff like that. And it's not clear to me why Soji is the destroyer. Because she's the only one that knows how to build the Jenga puzzle to create that deflector dish. No one else knows how to do that. Put blocks on top of each other to create this dish. What is that technology? No need to explain any of that. Why do I need to know how she just creates these light blocks and just creates a whole deflector that's going to open up another dimension? For all you Lord of the Rings fans out there, of which I am a fan, characters like Elnor, kind of a switch on the name Elrond, which we're all familiar with, who looks more like Bowman from the Lord of the Rings franchise, Legolas. Why? I didn't buy that character whatsoever. And like I said, it's just a story that's so convoluted. There are so many things they threw into this, so many different things you could have based a hell of a episode on in TNG. Just the most mundane thing that they just threw in because it looked cool, I guess. The orchids. Let's start there. You could do a whole an hour of a TNG episode based on the orchids alone, and they've done similar stories. I could, they go to the planet and these flowers look like they're attacking ships, but really what they're doing is trying to protect the planet and let's say their babies that are on the planet. They've done that on TNG. The device that the android woman, Soji's sister or whatever, gives to Rafi, and Rios uses it to repair the ship, and then what's her name? Agnes. I call her Tilly Light. She uses it to create multiple ships. Okay, I guess that's cool. But it's just like they put it in there and they don't really develop anything around it. That device alone could have created a two-part episode in TNG. Think about the two-part episode Gambit, where they were trying to find this this Romulan psionic device. Now, it was more of a MacGuffin, but they did resolve it at the end. But it wasn't just thrown in because it was cool. Think about the episode of TNG Captain's Holiday with the popular character Vash. They were looking for the Tox Utat, I think it was called. A whole episode based on a device. These writers, however, they just throw it in because it's cool and it gets them out of it helps them resolve a jam at the end so they can just keep moving forward. I could take some time to ponder, why do the synths look like they get their wardrobe from the planet Risa? Or that planet that, what was that episode called? Justice, I think it was called, on TNG, where they go to this planet and everyone's dressed in like bikinis and stuff like that, where Wesley is going to get killed because he walked over some flowers. Why are they dressed like that? It seems so silly to me. But yeah, it's just, the main thing is that the story is just, for me, completely unengaging. The story is 10 episodes of what at best could have been told in 2 hours. The basic story, if I break it down correctly, is that Picard wants to deliver Soji to this planet of synthetics. Now stop right there. Why is there the concept of a planet of synthetics? It just seems so stupid to me. Now on the periphery of that, you've got this cabal of Romulans, the Zash Vanash, I can't remember what they're called, who have this philosophy or this belief that this planet of synthetics is going to give birth to the destroyer, who's going to bring forth another dimension of synthetics that are going to come to the planet and to the galaxy, our dimension or their dimension, and kill everything, all human life. So the Romulans want to destroy all the synthetics so that they can't bring the other synthetics down to the planet. Now, somehow Data is tied into all this because he created Daj and Soji, or his genetic structure was used to create Daj and Soji. You see, I'm kind of struggling here to weave this into a cohesive narrative. So then you got the Romulans who want to destroy those synthetics on Gullion 4, but then there was a planet that was supposed to be surrounded by 8 suns or something, and the Romulans, the Zox Phoenix, or whatever they're called, they go around this little table on a planet, and they put their hands on it, and it shows them destruction, and I guess that's supposed to represent the annihilation or the abomination or something like that. And then it turns out that is part of Romulan mythology about these two sisters who beat a drum out of child human skin, something like that, and then another Romulan who I don't know, but they were synthetic. But these demons or whatever, when Narek was in the cave or in wherever they were, and he was delivering the exposition that should have been delivered closer to the beginning in the first act of this 10 episode series. I couldn't make sense of it. And then you got Brent Spiner playing Alton Noonien Singh, I believe, who creates a human, another android, and who didn't see what was coming with Picard towards the end. Now, I just mentioned Picard's name. In none of this does Picard really have much of an impact other than just another character who serves as a pawn to move the plot along. Yet, in the promotional pieces that I saw for this, including stuff that Patrick Stewart was doing, where he was speaking about the show, he was telling us, and we were being told that this show is going to delve into an altered Picard because of the Romulan planet being destroyed. It has a vast impact on Jean-Luc Picard, and it changes his life forever, and he goes on a journey to discover himself, that kind of stuff. I didn't get any of that. It was just Picard saying, I want to do it. Data was my guy, so I want to do this out of love for Data, which is cool, but the show does not really center around Picard. And I'm not surprised because it's exactly like I predicted. Patrick Stewart he's elderly now, and he's not going to be able to handle a lot of the weight. So it's going to revolve around other characters, and it's probably going to be a convoluted story, and he's going to play a part in it, but no more than just another plot device, which is what I got. Now, they tried to add some drama on it by saying he has this terminal disease, and that led to the most cringeworthy conclusion, and I'm going to spoil it, where he gets put into an android body. So now Captain Picard is an android or a synth, or whatever they call them now. What's the point of that? Why do you kill him off, go through 10 minutes of sorrow where I feel no emotions, much like when they killed off that character in Discovery Season 2, the most interesting looking character. She looked like a cyborg, and they just killed her off. And then in the following episode, they spent like 5 minutes, everyone crying and delivering eulogies, which had no impact on me at all because I didn't get to know the character. So you kill off Picard. You have like 10 minutes of Picard, of people crying, sobbing. You got a whole 10-minute, well, maybe it was probably around 8 to 10 minutes of a simulation. Who created the simulation? With Picard and Data? I mean, seeing an aged Brent Spiner in that makeup, a little disconcerting. It did not work for me at all. Was it good to see those two characters together again? Sure. But I feel like it kind of just spoils what I saw at the end of Nemesis, the sacrifice that Data made. That was enough for me. If you're going to get rid of Data, let it just lie there. Let that be it. But you had to go another step. Then you give me Will Riker, who is acting commander of the flagship of the Federation, the Jing-Jay, I believe he called it. Where's the Enterprise? Am I missing something? Did I miss something? Is the Enterprise out of service? Why wouldn't he be on the Enterprise? And why do you put Riker, to show the mise-en-scène of a starship, why do you put the camera so tight where all you see is Riker sitting in what could be a folding chair? And then you put some lights behind him, and that's that's his starship. Why can't I see the bridge? Why can't I see Ops? Why can't I see Khan? Why can't I see the science station? That was pathetic. Well, like I say, they threw so much into this, and they don't explore much of it. And the things that they do explore, I didn't care about. Why do a backstory about Elnor? I hate that name. Elnor and Picard. Picard is like his father figure. And there you go. That's something you could build on. You could build a story around that alone. I'm not going to go into a script writing class here, but okay, Picard never had children. Here's Elnor. There's the story right there. You build a series based on that. Picard is now a father. How does he deal with that at the age of 94, meeting his quote unquote son, who's an adult now? Well, there's the story right there. You have Raffi who meets her son. That was a compelling scene right there. They do nothing with it. You've got Seven of Nine. I'd love to know how she got from where I remember her, which the last time we saw her was the end of Voyager in the late 90s, I believe, to where she is now, a badass, a lesbian apparently. She has her emotions back now. She's a fully functional human now. She's not that stiff, still Borg-like, almost Data-like, android-like personality. How did she get there? Where did she get her fighting skills from? These are all the. Oh, one more thing. When Picard, one of the best scenes on the in the series, when Picard goes onto the Borg cube. Okay, there's a story right there. He was Locutus. They don't touch on that. And there's one scene where Patrick Stewart, God bless him, despite what I said about his age and his acting, he says something in his face that is just amazing. He looks at there's an XB. That's one of the most millennial sounding names I've ever heard for characters. XB. He looks at one of the XBs who's just gotten some reconstructive surgery, and he touches this person gently on the shoulder, and he smiles. And what he does with his face communicates everything we saw throughout Best of Both Worlds, the next episode, Family, I think it was, through First Contact. He communicates all that in his expression. That was the best scene of the whole series. But it goes nowhere. Once he gets off that Borg cube, that's it. Move on. And we saw that same pattern in Discovery Season 2. Here's another little thing I can't help but bring up, being who I am. When Will Riker is confronting the Romulan commander, Commander O, I think her name was, he says that the planet Gullion 4 is under the protection of Starfleet. Starfleet? I thought it was the Federation that protected planets. I hate to say this, but I'm just so disappointed in Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes that at no point did they stop and look at the script and say, this doesn't make sense. I mean, I did this character for 7 years. He wouldn't do this, and he would never talk like this. Stewart should have said, Picard would never say to an Starfleet Commodore or Starfleet Admiral, you're a waste of space. Riker would never say something like, I'll be happy to kick your tall Shi'ar traitorous ass. He wouldn't talk like that. And Frakes has been doing this long enough to have soaked in some of the Star Trek mythology. For example, he would have said, you know what, my character as a starship captain, whether acting or not, wouldn't call for deflectors at maximum. He'd call for shields at maximum because, as a true Star Trek fan, we all know that the deflector is the dish that's on the front end of the front of the hull, the front hull of the starship, which basically disperses debris that it may encounter as it travels forward. Whereas the shields is what prevents phasers and photon torpedoes and more heavy debris from causing damage to the hull. So, there's that little thing. Us true Star Trek fans are aware of that. And then those World Destroyer, Man of Steel tentacles that come out of the hole. When you reveal nothing of what you're up against or what the enemy is or what the conflict is or who is going to cause the conflict, basically we learn in the last half of this series that there are additional synths that come from another dimension that are going to come down, but then they might be these Romulan mythological creatures, the Seb Cheneb and whatever, I don't know, and they're going to open up this portal. Bottom line is, they give us no scope of what the threat is. So when those tentacles come out, it's just something else that they just threw in. It means nothing. It's hard to feel threatened or feel any suspense when the conflict has never truly been defined. So we don't see any high-level synths. We don't see any demons or chaklaglock, whatever Nurik said was part of the Romulan mythology. We didn't get any of that. We got just some mechanical arms coming through. And then Soji just changes her mind, smashes the Jenga puzzle, and they go away. Just horrible, horrible, lazy writing. How many times did I say that during Discovery Season 2? What it comes down to is that these guys just don't fundamentally know how to tell a story. They don't know how to plot. They don't know how to set things up. They don't know how to pay things off. And it just makes it seem like they're just throwing things in as they go along. Oh, one note, we all saw on The View a few months ago where Patrick Stewart, I assume, I didn't see the live show. I saw it on YouTube or something like that. But Patrick Stewart was, I assume, promoting Picard, and he was on the show. And he made the formal invitation for Whoopi Goldberg to come in on season 2 as Guinan. Now, I like that because I'm thinking, well, okay, Whoopi Goldberg's going to bring some groundwork, some foundation that I recall from TNG to this series in season 2. But you know what? Then I started thinking, wait a minute. If Patrick Stewart couldn't do that, and Brent Spiner couldn't do that, forget it. I haven't seen any announcements. I posted something up on the Red Shirts Facebook page about news about the next series, the next season. And I saw nothing mentioned about Whoopi Goldberg being a part of that. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, folks, we got to 10 episodes. What do we have to look for now? Season 3 of Discovery. I'm just going to go dig a hole out in the backyard and take all of my Star Trek paraphernalia and fill it in and put a tombstone. Here lies what I liked about Star Trek. Hopefully this weekend, the rest of my crew, Big Sexy and Craig J, will be available. They'll be on hand. They will have seen the finale, and we're going to do a group session. We're going to do an away team. All of us together, we're going to critique this series and this episode. And you've already heard my feelings. I'm going to let you hear their feelings, and we'll move forward from there. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Take care.